Welcome to Tech Ascent, the podcast where we dive into the trends, strategies, and success stories that are reshaping the tech landscape as we know it today. I'm your host, Oliver Klingane. I'm also the founder of Ascension, the premier business development partner within tech. Today, we're joined by Chris Basey, the CEO of Comedia Design. Chris, welcome to the show.
Hi, good to be here.
It's good to meet you. Good to have you on. Would you mind telling the audience a little bit about yourself and what you do with Comedia?
Yeah, so Comedia is an end-to-end digital product agency. We just hit our 10-year anniversary a couple of months ago. And we work across the entire product lifecycle, from UI, UX design, visual design, front-end, back-end development, content, and then ultimate deployment. So we can kind of slot in at either an entire team that can run end to end, or we slot in with design or development help, depending on what the project requires. We're a small team. We're here in San Francisco and in Vancouver, British Columbia. We have a couple of people out in Salamanca in Spain, so we kind of a little bit of spread around the world. Myself, I've had a design background for the last 20 something years, 25 plus years. It's been a while. And so we started Comedia, the three of us that were in a startup that we spun out of that startup. When that got acquired, we moved into Comedia, and that was 10 years ago. We kicked this off. So it's been fun. It's been an interesting time. The last 5 years have been very interesting in the client services, but hopefully we're starting to see some better days ahead.
Yeah, very cool. Very cool. And when you guys founded this company 10 years ago, what made you want to kick this one off? What made you, or what gap did you see in the market that you thought you guys could capitalize on?
Yeah, I mean, it's changed a lot since then, but we were at myself and Ken Yang and Ben Ortel, the three of us, were working at a startup that's getting acquired. And it was getting acquired by Walmart, or Walmart Labs. And we felt that that wasn't really a place that we particularly wanted to be at. And so we've worked with a lot of agencies during our time at the startup, and we're usually fairly frustrated with them. We worked with some of the bigger agencies, and we felt they're very, very slow. We felt they weren't really action-oriented. They felt that they were ramping up their billable hours and creating a whole bunch of PowerPoints, but not actually generating a huge amount of value. And so we looked at that and decided that what might be an interesting thing to do would be to kind of create an agency that kind of did the opposite, right? How do we generate and drive real value very, very quickly? And at that time, one of the areas where we knew we could work really well was innovation. So for the first sort of 5 years of Comedia, we were very much an innovation agency. So we worked with GE Aviation, with Ericsson, with NEC, with Vodafone, with VMware, kind of taking ideas from zero to one, right? We were very, very good at working very, very rapidly and producing prototypes and MVPs in a short period of time that kind of demonstrated value we could take out into the market, test them, get insights, iterate, and move on. We put teams together and build against that. We kind of very much kind of consider ourselves the makers of the thing, right? We didn't want to produce a bunch of PowerPoints or a bunch of PDFs. It's like, how can we generate that value really, really quickly? So that's kind of where we saw the initial growth of the agency, and it's kind of where we saw the market had real need, and we saw that especially in the enterprise space. Moving quickly in the enterprise is kind of slightly anathema, and the innovation studios there were kind of looking where we're going to be in 5 years, where we're going to be in 10 years, where we're going to be in 3 years, and kind of building towards North Stars and very quickly making these rapid prototypes and rapid MVPs. So that was kind of the first 5 years. Then COVID hit, and the innovation spigot was very quickly turned off, not really kind of come back on in any great shape. So the last 5 years, it's not so much a pivot, but we're like, let's be innovative inside companies, doing whatever apps or features they need. How can we kind of create value quickly inside these existing products, right? So there's a lot less greenfield thinking. There's a lot less kind of like, we'll do whatever. Imagine if it was this, what could it look like? Imagine we could do this. Never mind whether the technology is there for it or not. How might that work? And let's work backwards from that and see what technology we can slot in. It's more now kind of like, well, okay, here's your roadmap. You need to get to this. Here's what you're seeing some issues. Here's where you need extra traction. How can we help move you through the roadmap? So it's similar but different now.
Makes sense. Makes sense. And obviously, you mentioned COVID was a turning point in the space. A lot of other industries have, we'll call it, bounced back. Why do you think your kind of industry, your competitive landscape hasn't necessarily done that just yet.
So client services, I think it's one of those areas where you're always going to be the first to go in any budget cuts, right? Third party vendors and contractors, right? We see that time and time again. Um, and then with the mass layoffs in 23, companies, rather than going like, okay, well, let's bring in some agencies to help build the stuff that is now on pause because of we've done these layoffs there, but we still need to help. That didn't happen in the way that it used to. And so everybody just went, well, we're going to make do and mend. I think there was the Zuckerberg's year of efficiency, right? And that mindset and mentality took hold a lot more. And so people are a little bit more reticent than they were about kind of driving forward faster, which you can with an agency, looking at the optics of budgets, looking at the optics of bringing people in if you just lay people off. And then the budgets now require more approval. They've got to go further up the chain. And so kind of like the sales cycles become longer. So from the agency landscape, it's been a little more challenging over the last few years. But I think we're starting hopefully to see some of that stabilize.
Yeah, nice, nice. And being in an era of kind of fighting an uphill battle, we'll call it, being the CEO, managing teams kind of across the world, how do you go about building a culture that still shows up every day, even when the sun might not be shining?
Trust, right? I think that's kind of it's showing up for the team, both myself, but anybody else on the leadership, but also everybody individually, showing up for each other, being there for each other, making sure that if something's happened or you're not feeling well or you just need a mental health day, being able to kind of go, hey, I need this. Can someone come in and help? And kind of making sure that people are there for that. So it's building that trust inside the team and them knowing that we have their best interests at heart and that we're trying, even when things aren't going as great, that we are working really hard to make sure that they're first. So we kind of like um, kind of people work profits, right? It's kind of like how we think about Comedia. Because without the people, it doesn't make sense. And having kind of the older agency model, right, where you bring people in, they churn every 6 months, every year, every 18 months. That model, I don't think works long term. And that model worked before when it was just a series of projects you could roll people in. People didn't care. It was just headcount that they needed. Now I think you need to be much more targeted. Like, this is what we're building, and this is the team that's going to build it for you, and they're going to be part of that team. And we're not going to be an external vendor so much as we're going to be integrated and incorporating part of that team. So I think building that trust both inside the company and with the client, that you're all in this together, I think is key.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I love that mindset. And obviously, it seems like leading by example is a big component of that. Kind of showing people you're going to show up every day. They buy into that with
Yeah.
some trust. What other kind of strategies do you have in place to build a strong? Is the team fully remote? Is the team?
So we're mostly remote. We have an office in Vancouver, BC, so people who are in Vancouver can go up to our very, very nice floating office on False
Mhm.
Creek. But a lot of it's remote, and that presents its own challenges. I think while we would never do an RTO, I think there's a difference when you're in situ, right? I think remote's fine. It works great. We've been remote friendly since day one, right? We were never
Mhm.
prescriptive of like if you're going to work better over there or in Mexico City because you want to go there for 3 months or you want to go and just work at home or work in a coffee shop, that's fine as long as the work gets done. You know where the meetings are, you know what the deadlines are, not a problem. But in terms of kind of like that trust and building that team out and doing great work together, um, it's great to be in an office. I think I missed we got rid of our office in San Francisco during COVID. Um, and yeah, I missed the kind of interaction every day with the team. So I think that does make it a little trickier. I'm not sure we're likely to get another office in San Francisco, but Vancouver, I think when I go up there, it feels a lot more productive. And even not necessarily the work that you get more work done, but you feel more productive because as a team, you're together, you're chatting, you're having lunch, um,
Mhm.
in a way that you can't, like, this doesn't replicate, right? We've all sat and looked at these little squares and rectangles of video of each other, and it doesn't replicate
Mhm.
human
For sure.
interaction.
For sure. And sometimes you're nailing down 8 calls in a day. You forget that there's genuinely
Yeah,
another person on the other side of that screen.
yeah, yeah. You just kind of get blinkered and you just do these things and bang, bang, bang. Yeah. And so
Yeah.
again, like where possible, when the first thing I'll do if I'm kind of talking to a client who's SF or Bay Area based or prospective client, it's like, well, I live out by the beach here in San Francisco. I was like, well, let's go and grab a coffee and let's go and have a wander along the beach and chat. And like having those kind of personal, kind of face-to-face communications is so much nicer.
100%. 100%. And Chris, obviously, over the past 5 years, you've mentioned things are turning around now. Where do you see without your crystal ball, of course, where do you see the landscape going? What trends are you seeing in the space right now?
I think I would say this because I have a vested interest in this being true. But in terms of kind of from where I sit and the type of industry that I'm in, with the agency and client services, I think smaller boutique agencies are really well positioned right now because I think that we can be highly tactical. We can come in and again hit the ground running. And we're going to, what do you need to build? Okay, great. In 12 weeks, we're going to build this thing. We'll discuss what it is. We'll discuss the scope and we'll build that and then we'll test it, right? Rather than these kind of larger agencies where they bring in first meeting has 50 people in it and all very hand
Hmm.
waving like we're great, we're kind of this famous brand that you've heard of, we're going to be amazing. They're increasingly going to, I think, struggle because budgets are getting cut. Their overhead is insane. So a lot of their hourlies or their day rates or however is based on, they've got 50 offices around the world to maintain. You know, they've got all these overheads that as smaller agencies we don't have. So I think for me, the smaller agencies are well placed now, or at least will be well placed if the economy starts to move in the right
Hmm.
direction and people are understanding what their budgets are, because at the moment that's all in flux. Um, I think collectives is huge. I think collectives is going to be the way forward. So we've formed a collective called Assembly. There's a content agency called Pinwheel that started it, and we joined in with who do content, we do product. There's Rival, which is brand. There's Crown, which does social, and there's Mediasmith that does media buying. So we all do different things. We have this umbrella agency, for want of a better term, called Assembly. Right, and we can sell we can do across the entire life cycle of your company. We can slot in and help. So I think collectives and partnerships is where, from a small agency perspective, that is where the future is going to be. So you can have kind of like the big agency feel, if you like, because you've got this every aspect that you need. We have a solution for, um, but at the same time, it's just five different agencies, right? You can use whichever ones you want. Um,
Yeah.
so I think collectives is where I think agencies and partnerships are going to do well.
That's cool. Teamwork makes the dream work.
Indeed.
Hmm. No, I like it. And how are you, I guess, as an individual company, how are you going about breaking through the noise of just a competitive landscape, one that's on the bounce back?
Um, Yeah, that's a great question. So the perennial BD problem, right? Business development is increasingly difficult. There's a lot of noise out there. There's a lot of people who do something very, very similar. There's a lot of people who started agencies. Lots of layoffs. They're great to start agencies. So there adds a lot of churn into the water. A lot of it's reputation. Right, we've been around for 10 years. We've done great work with very famous names, so we can reference those. I've been in the Bay Area and in tech for 20 something years, 22 years. And so there's a network there. And building out a genuine network is the way to do it. So increasingly we're seeing like any kind of cold outreach. It can sort of work, but not if it's transactional.
Hmm.
Um, I think building lasting and meaningful connections with people and kind of going out. So I do a lot of that. Kind of like, hey, I want to chat with you because you've done this, this, and this, or I think you've got a unique insight in that AI with graphic design, whatever. So I would love to just to chat with you because I've got thoughts on it as well. I'm always interested to talk to other agencies, leaders. And it being kind of like a genuine kind of conversation and a genuine networking attempt because you want to get to know them, and then using that to kind of like, if there's opportunities that come in, then great. Or they go, like, oh, you should talk to Chris. I was talking to him. He does these things. So building out those networks and making sure that they're genuine, that they're not transactional, you're not just always on sale mode, I think is going to be is key. And that's
Hmm.
how you kind of build out those things, I think.
Yeah, 100%. 100%. And Chris, you mentioned you've been living in the Bay Area for quite some time now. You've built a strong network. It's one of my favorite sayings personally is, but I want to know how you feel about it, is how do you feel about the saying, your network is your net worth?
Yeah, I think it's true, right? There's there's the old phrase as well, kind of like basically show me who you hang out with, show me who your friends are, and I'll tell you who you'll be.
Hmm.
right? And so I think it's who you are, what your reputation is, and who you hang out with, and your network is huge, right? There's the Woody Allen thing. It's not what you know, it's not who you know, it's who knows you.
Hmm.
And I think that's especially true with networking from an agency perspective, right? You need to kind of build out this mesh where everybody knows each other. We're all 2-3 degrees away from each other, right? And so, how do you build that network in a way that's meaningful that people will think of you when they're talking to somebody else about, oh, I've got this problem or this agency's not working for us? Oh, go and chat with
Hmm.
Chris. But yeah, your network is everything. Without the network, none of this happens. None of this exists without a network.
Hmm. Most
And I think the
definitely.
key is just making it non-transactional. Because if you're just kind of showing up, going like, "Yeah, we'd love to work with you. Have you got any projects? I'd love a project." You're just going like, "Well, not
Yeah,
really." So
yeah,
you
yeah,
know, and then ultimately do good work and be good to work with. Right? I think those are
yeah, yeah. You
the
got to
main
keep it real.
watchwords.
You got to keep it
Yeah,
real. People can sniff out the BS, and I like that you said you're only typically only 2 to 3 degrees away from everyone,
yeah,
and I think I heard it once. I don't know if it's true. I saw it on the internet, so it's got to be true, right?
got to be true.
You're like at max 12 people away from any single person on Earth, like connection
I can well
wise.
believe it. Yeah,
Yeah, yeah. Which is
I
just
can
wild.
well believe it. Yeah,
So, but Chris, we can begin to kind of wrap it up here now. But you've been in business for over a decade. Congratulations on that.
there you go.
If there was one thing you could kind of tell yourself on day one of launching Comedia Design as a CEO, what would that one thing be? Whether it be a piece of advice, something about your mindset, something about what you should be doing, kind of as your daily inputs. What one thing would you tell yourself?
I think which is something that we did, but it's surround yourself with good people. Right, surround yourself. You're going to spend a lot of time with these people. Most people at Comedia are there for a good amount of time. It's like, so surround yourself with people that you want to be with, that you want to spend time with, that do good work that you can stand behind. But you want to hang with them, and choose the right people for the right roles. Be very careful about who you bring in, um, because choosing the wrong person can have fairly disastrous effects. So just be a little. And I think sometimes we weren't always so circumspect. I think it's like make sure that we know that we are 100% sure that this person is going to add value to the company, both from the work and the cultural. So yeah,
Mm, I like
find
it.
good people, foster good people. People is
Oh,
everything, right? Even in tech,
hmm.
people is everything. Even in the world of AI, the humans are still the most important aspect.
No doubt, no doubt. I like it. Now I'm going to double down on this one, Chris. How do you go about doing that? If you had one piece of advice on that sense, how do you go about surrounding yourself with good people?
Be genuine, be true to who you are, know who you are, and then you will meet, and then be very kind of confident as much as you can be, and then the people that you meet, who you vibe with, it's like, okay, well, like, this person seems to be someone that I want to spend time with. I like their work, so just kind of like just trust your instincts as to whether these are people um, that will add value to your life. Because ultimately, if you're bringing anybody into your company, you're going to spend more time with them than you are almost anybody else, right? Especially if you're small, or especially at early stages of your company. So just be, yeah,
Mm-hmm.
just kind of trust your instincts, find people who you want to be with, and then let the chips fall where they may. And then you just kind of manage that and see what happens. There's only so much you can control.
Yep. Wise words. Wise words. And Chris, looking forward now, what's kind of the plans for Comedia Design? What's the vision? What's the mission?
So kind of what I alluded to before. I think back in the day, agency growth was generally counted in headcount, right? You've got to get to 20, 30, 50, 100, like whatever your number is. And that's growth. That's success. I've got to 50. Great. I've got to 100. Oh my God, it's amazing. Exactly where I wanted to be. Those days are definitely gone. I think growth now is more in, well, obviously revenue and margin. Um, but also kind of surrounding yourself with partners. So I think building out a core group of world-class people that you want to be with and you want to hang with and you want to spend time with and you want to grow things together, finding that core group of people and then finding partners that help expand your range or the things that you can do. So we have various partnerships. So we have a partnership with industrial product design and development. And so if there's any kind of wellness wearable that they're working on, then they might say, hey, Chris, Comedia, can you build these digital part of it? Or we have, again, assembly is obviously a big part. We have big Indian SI partners as well. So where it makes sense, I think, is to build those partnerships out and have that and you being part of that rather than trying to build your one piece bigger. I think
Mm-hmm.
we're stronger together, right? I think ultimately.
Yeah. And it comes back to the reoccurring theme we've discussed is the power of your network.
Yeah, 100%.
Awesome,
100%. Now
awesome.
more than ever,
Yeah, no doubt, no doubt. The genuine connections are going to go a lot farther than the transactional ones.
for sure.
I think that's a great place to leave it, Chris. And for everybody listening, thank you for tuning in. But Chris, I'll be sure to tag your LinkedIn, Comedia Design's website down in the description. But is there anywhere
Awesome.
else people can connect with you, reach out to you?
No, those are the best places. I got off socials a while back. So I'm on LinkedIn. That's the best place to, if you want to connect, that's the best place to connect with me.
Sounds good. I'll be sure to tag it all down in the description. But for everybody listening, thank you for tuning in. Thank you for taking the time. And Chris, thank you for taking the time to come on the show.
Thank you. It was fun. Enjoyed it.
It's been a pleasure.